Bonjour, comment ça va? There are four faith-based films that I watched, my basic thoughts of it, whether I recommend it or not, and also my basic review of it. The first movie that I watched was The Prince of Egypt, and I knew this movie from my childhood, but I wanted to rewatch it to see if The Prince of Egypt still holds up or if it was just nostalgia that made me like it so much. And it was amazing. If you don't know what it's about, it's based on the book of Exodus, which follows how basically God delivered the Israelites from slavery. The Israelites were living in Egypt for a really long time, they were being oppressed, and Moses was one of those blessed kids who survived that. But not only that, he got to grow up in the palace as one of the princes in the story. And then something happens, he flees, and then God calls him to actually deliver the people out of slavery, which is insane. I enjoyed this movie so very much, from the cinematography to the lighting decisions to the music, the score. The Prince of Egypt has one of the most beautiful scores ever, and the soundtrack, the music, it was instantly captivating. One of the songs I really liked was what's it called again? Deliver Us from the Promised Land. The opening song was instantly captivating. I didn't even realize how powerful that opening song was, but it was absolutely amazing. There's some filmmaking decisions that they made which was absolutely incredible. You could tell they put a lot of thought and effort into this movie so much. Of course, this movie is based on the book of Exodus, but it's not perfectly accurate. Not all of it is very accurate, so I would suggest that you at least read the book of Exodus at least once before watching the movie, or at least make sure that you're quite familiar with the story so that you're not thinking that this is 100% exactly what is in the Bible. Even though this movie was made in the 90s, the quality is still so very good. Like, I enjoyed it so much. It was really good. What a wonderful way to retell the story of Moses, seeing his character, his journey. There's some scenes that still made me so emotional, even though now I'm an adult. It touched me a lot more now that I've accepted Jesus for myself, now that I've built a relationship with him, and now that I've read the book of Exodus countless amount of times. Those scenes were so much more powerful. I definitely enjoyed it so much, and I gave this movie a 9.5 out of 10. Instantly amazing. The second movie that I watched was Surprised by Oxford. I only found out about this movie by its trailer. I found it really interesting. I didn't watch the trailer, but I saw the name of the movie by its trailer, and I instantly researched what the movie is about. I found out that it's a true story. It's based on this woman named Carol Drake, and she goes to Oxford to finish her PhD. And while she's there, she meets this charming young man who's a believer. And through her conversations with him and through this journey, she eventually receives Christ. Even though she was a skeptic, she basically gets reintroduced to Christianity in a way, where you kind of get to see her journey with the faith and how she kind of wrestled with wanting to believe in God and everything. It's honestly a really good premise. Like, I was like, okay, I can't wait to watch this movie. I'm very curious how they're gonna go about this journey. It really looked great quality too. So I was like, okay, good quality faith-based film. And I found it was based on a true story that also piqued my interest, since I really enjoyed watching Haste for Christ. When I first started watching the movie, instantly I was captivated. I loved the use of cinematography. Like, the first opening scenes were really good, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be such a great movie. I liked Carol's character. I liked that we got to see some of her past and struggles as well. Instantly I was like, okay, this is the character that we're gonna be following. This is really good. Then we see how Carol goes to Oxford. I like the fact that we got to see Oxford, the buildings, the libraries, the classrooms. It looked really good. You know, kind of reminded me a little bit of Cape Town, which is where I'm from as well, specifically UCT. In a way, it's not exactly the same, but it reminded me, like the old buildings type of thing, really reminded me of that. I also really liked the banter and the dialogue at times, specifically the banter and dialogue between Carol and our main guy, the Christian guy. I like the dialogue at times. We have this back and forth kind of banter, which I often enjoy reading in books and watching in general. So I was like, okay, this is nice little back and forth. What I really didn't like about this movie was the relationship between Carol and the main guy. I don't want to say too much because this is based on a true story, but I kind of wish we could have gotten more from her character and also more from the guy's character. The way I thought this movie was gonna be, just by reading about it, I thought it was gonna be so focused on how this guy is so firm on his faith and so strong in his faith, and her just watching him have his relationship with God was gonna like pique her interest. She's probably gonna have a couple of questions. But honestly, this movie felt more like a romance movie, and it felt like her coming to the faith, which I knew it was gonna have romantic elements to it. Like I was very, very much aware of it, but it kind of it felt like we kind of didn't really get much of the faith elements at times. Personally, for me, I wish we could have gotten more of that. I also didn't feel as though the guy's faith was shown quite well. There was just some things that he was doing and saying that I was like, I don't know how firm your faith is. There's just some things that I really did not agree with. Also, I really don't agree with unequally yoked relationships. He was aware from the beginning that she wasn't Christian and she didn't really want to have to do anything with Christianity at all. Yet I could tell from the very beginning of the movie he wanted to have a romantic relationship with her. And I guess that was something that did bother me because I was like, she wants nothing to do with God, but you want to build a relationship with her. Like, yes, there were, and there's a lot of thoughts and feelings about that, but I didn't like the approach to the story that much. I felt like we could have gotten more. I did like Carol's relationship with this other woman. I believe she was a professor in this university. This other woman was really, really good. She really helped her faith a lot, but it was just that one relationship thing where so many things just bothered me, where really struggled to enjoy the movie, where I felt as though we could have gotten a lot deeper, we could have made this a lot more richer. And I just struggled also getting the motivation why he wanted to be with her so much. Because at the beginning he barely knew anything about her and just the way they meet and everything. And I was just like, okay, why is this guy so adamant on being with this girl when they fundamentals and foundation and faith is just not the same? Like I didn't understand why he was so romantically pursuing her, not just friendship pursuing, but romantically pursuing her. So it confused me. I didn't really enjoy it that much, and I gave this movie either 6 out of 10 or 6.5 out of 10 because the cinematography was really, really good at the beginning. Oh, and another thing that I didn't really like about it was the cussing. The cussing from Carol I somewhat understood because I was like, okay, maybe before she became Christian, she used to cuss a lot. So I was like, okay, maybe there's a reason why they did that. But then when the guy, the Christian guy, started cussing, that's when I was like, okay, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this movie anymore. And yeah, just 6.5 out of 10. I'm not criticizing the memoir at all. I know this is based on a true story. I just felt as though in a movie context we could have written it or done it a bit differently. Another thing that I liked about my Oxford year was the C.S. Lewis. It made me want to read C.S. Lewis so much because he kept on mentioning these books and I was like, hey, the only books I've read is Mere Christianity and School Tape Letters and I want to read more. Motivated me to want to read more apologetic books, read C.S. Lewis, read more books that defend and argue for my faith and everything. It was really good motivation. It made me reflect on it and like, okay, how would I have answers to A, B, and C? So I really liked the movie for that, and I kind of wish that the movie was more focused on that. Like I kind of wish we could have been more focused, almost like Case for Christ type of thing. Because the Case for Christ also had romantic elements, but then when it came to the faith elements, it was also quite heavy and very focused on it as well. And I kind of wish this movie had the same thing. Next is I Watch Faith Like Potatoes, and I knew about this movie from a friend of mine. They recommended it to me after they have watched it, and I was like, this is a South African faith-based film, and I don't know a lot of South African faith-based films, even though I currently live in South Africa, and I really, really desired to watch more South African faith-based films. I was like, I need that diversity. I want to watch faith-based films from all over the world. So why not start with the country that I live in? And wow, watching this movie was beautiful. Before I get into that, this movie is about this man, but then he moves to South Africa and he's not saved. I believe he's not saved, but his wife is saved. This is not a spoiler. And then things happen. He's just going through a lot of personal struggles, a lot of financial struggles, moving to this new country, and these natural disaster and issues happening around his life. And it brings him to the worst. And when we got to see that, I struggled through the movie because he makes so many bad decisions and so many of his actions were honestly really bothersome. There's some moments where he kind of felt racist to me. There were some moments where I was kind of like, this guy is really unlikable. I did not like following his journey at all. I was so tempted to just stop watching the movie halfway. I literally texted my friend and I said, I'm not gonna finish this movie. I don't know if I have the strength to finish this movie. And they were like, just finish the movie. I don't even know if I'm being dramatic anymore, but a lot of things that he was doing was kind of triggering to me because I was like, okay, this is really racist and I'm black and this main guy is white and I don't know how I feel about this. I persevered through the movie and I loved it. I didn't like it took a 180. Like when my friend was like, it's gonna take a 180, just wait for it. I was like, I don't know if I can keep on doing this. And it did take a big, big, big 180. After he gets saved, the story really picked up a lot. It's about this farmer and you get to see the miracles God does in his life, and you get to see the relationships in his life become restored, how his marriage is restored, how he becomes a better man, how God calls him into higher things, and how God completely transforms his life and even starts using him to do amazing, amazing things. Like this movie inspired my faith so very much. This movie motivated me to want to go out there and be bold for my faith and believe for the craziest miracles ever. Like it's such a beautiful, motivating movie. It's one of those movies that leave you feeling inspired. It kind of reminded me of Soul Surfer and like Hope So Rich. Okay, Hope So Rich is a very different comparison, but that same inspirational feeling of I want to be just like this guy and leaves you feeling full at the end. It was so enjoyable. I also like the fact that it took place in South Africa. There were so many areas where I was like, this feels and like South Africa to me. Also, just hearing the South African languages that I know was so good as well. It felt very homey. So there's nothing like local is lekker basically. And I gave this movie a 8.5 out of 10. Next is I watched Joseph King of Dreams, and I watched this movie because of the Prince of Egypt. I thought that this movie was gonna be kind of like the Joseph version of Prince of Egypt, almost like the prequel type of thing, because Joseph is basically how the Israelites ended up in Egypt. But this is not like the Prince of Egypt. It's not exactly like the Prince of Egypt. They have the similarities, but if you go into it thinking it's gonna feel and look exactly like the Prince of Egypt, you might be a bit disappointed. But it was still really, really good. Like I liked the music. I didn't expect the music to be so good. I don't know why. I think it was because of the season of life I was in, but the music made me emotional. It made me think about hard times that I probably had with my own walk of God. It comforted me, gave me so much joy. Like I made a reaction and movie review of that as well, so you can just watch it. But I really, really, really enjoyed the music. I also enjoyed the storytelling. I was so curious. Okay, I didn't even give what this movie is about. It's basically following Joseph's life, how his brothers sold him into Egypt, and how he had to go through the prison and all these things. And then God eventually uplifted him. If you don't know the story, just go through the book of Genesis. You'll find it in the 40 somethings, I believe. And it's such a good story. Like if you're going through something really, really hard, you feel unnoticed by God, you feel as though God's just making you go through all these hard things. This story is definitely something that can comfort you, especially if you feel like if you're going through your own little prison, being misunderstood, you feel isolated, you feel like you have no one to depend on. This story is such a beautiful story to just watch. I was very curious to see how they were gonna do the little Joseph being tempted thing, if you know what I'm talking about. They did it in a good way. I was just curious because I was like, this is a kids movie. How are they gonna do that? But yeah, anyways, that was good. And I enjoyed the storytelling, I enjoyed watching Joseph's character. I like the fact that we got to see him go through everything, got to go through pain, seeing his siblings basically betray him. He went through doubt, anger, wrath, frustration. We got to see all those emotions in those very human emotions. I liked some of the cinematography as well, just like the Prince of Egypt. They made use of the holographics as well, where they kind of used it in a certain scene, which I was like, this is so cool. I really, really highly suggest that anyone watches it. And I think I gave this movie a 7.5 out of 10. Yeah, and that's all of the movies that I watched. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are some of these movies that you have watched? Which ones have you enjoyed? Which ones have you not enjoyed? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Which ones do you plan to watch in future? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know about some of the movies that I mentioned, specifically Fish Like Potatoes and My Oxford Year. I don't think those are movies a lot of people know about. So, which movies do you want to watch? Would you want to rewatch Prince of Egypt? Because I highly suggest that you rewatch Prince of Egypt. I would love to know all those details, and I hope that I'll see you in the next video. Au revoir, à bientôt.